Hello fellow Forgeborn, and welcome to the second draft video with me, Pion. Um, last week, or last time, we drafted an Necrim Tempest deck and went 2-2, which seemed quite unfortunate. Let's see what we're gonna get this time. One of my favorite cards are here in this pack, and that is Spite Hydra. That would lead us into Necrim Tempest once again, which I personally don't have a problem with, because it's my favorite faction combination. We could go for Weirwood Patriarch or Esperion Scarab, as I think both of those are acceptable. I really do like the Spite Hydra though. I think any of these picks are fine, but I'd suppose that the pick should be between the Patriarch and the Hydra. And it should be pretty close, and maybe you'll go in a different route depending on your preferences. Seeing as I drafted NT the last time, maybe I should go with this Patriarch. I haven't really made up my mind yet about it, so Spite Hydra or Weirwood Patriarch. I'm gonna have to go with the Spite Hydra, with it being my favorite card in one of my favorite faction combinations. Unfortunately, there is Spring Dryad here, which could put us in Utera and render our Spite Hydra not as good anymore. It'd still get the buffs when it battles, which, I mean, it would be a fine creature still. And we would be in NU. This is kind of a tough decision. It's a kind of a feel-bad moment to take a Spring Dryad here. The other option would be taking a Call the Weak and keeping an eye open for Tempees. I mean, everyone knows how to draft Necrim Utera, I guess. It's been out there for a long time. Yeah, let's just go with a call and try to redeem ourselves with a Tempest plan. This is an awful start. Countermeasure is the best card in the pack. No, yeah, and the Forge Guardian. We're gonna take the Chant here and kind of just wasted 2 picks to go into a faction combination that Spite Hydra put us in. So this is one of the dangers. By doing this, I mean, we could have made a better choice perhaps in pack 2. Maybe our greed and hope for a Necrim Tempest deck damaged us a bit. Among these cards, there are none I particularly like in Necrim Tempest, but I think I'm going to pick up the Spirit Leash for... Despite us having picked 2 spells already, I think Spirit Leash is the card that has the greatest impact on the game. So let's take that. We could go Abominations, which would be fine. Dr. Frankenbaum is a little bit underwhelming, I'd say, and I'd like to have the 4+4 attack underdrop potential from the Warbringer. There's another Frankenbaum. Interesting. There's also a Crypt Slime, which is a fine creature. Maybe Abominations is something that we really should do. But I feel like moving in on something like that can force you to go too deep. And Crypt Slime actually works quite well with Spirit Leashes. So let's take another one in favor of this Zombie Titan. I do like Zombie Titan, but Crypt Slime is more versatile and it can serve as a double blocker. Dirge Banshee is one of the best draft commons, so you should try to pick that highly. And wow, another awful pack. Necrophile, I think, does the most work, is just a trick. None of these creatures actually do anything. And then another horrible pack here for us. Aerial Surge and Cold Weak. Nothing really that good. I mean, maybe we could pick Aerial Surge for some sort of Dirge Banshee shenanigans. That could be good, because moving a Dirge Banshee 2 should be equivalent of getting maybe an underdrop type thing. So let's try it out. We'll see if it works out. I already have a call. Not interested in running too many of them. And Aerial Surge is actually a finisher as well. Scythian Shambler. Well, we do have a legendary that is kind of splashy, and what is good with Scythian Shambler in draft is that there isn't as much removal, which means that you can keep eating creatures, and it could be really fine. So after this, I'd be definitely looking to pick up some Avalanche Guardians and that kind of stuff. But I think it's going to be pretty sweet to see what this Shambler can do in draft. Here we have a Glutton, which I think Glutton or Warbringer Uranti are decent choices here. I'm going to go with the Glutton, because we already have the Warbringer. Here another Banshee, because I think we're on the defensive. This has shaped up to be kind of a defensive deck, with maybe looking to win with a Shambler or a big Spite Hydra. And Banshee's just a better card overall. Everflame Aura is a good underdrop, but I'd like to not have to pick up too many more spells. The fact that I do have a lot of spells could be good with the Dark Heart Wanderer, but we're kind of in the wrong faction combination there, because it kind of needs pump. Here we have Frost Shatter Strike, which is the best card in the pack. We do have a lot of spells already, which could be a problem. Which means I could potentially draft the Wind Primordial, which is more versatile, or the big Steam Sentinel. I wouldn't go into Uranti Elementalist for the Dirge Banshee combos. I don't think that is the power level that we want to be on. So yeah, this Frost Shadow Strike is so good though. Such a good trick. I think I'm gonna pick it. And here we got a Necromoeba. Necromoebas are big and hard to deal with. I do like a Blizzard Shaman too, but I think Necromoeba is just a more solid card. Ooh. Well, I think it's between Totembound Berserker and Spark Soul. I'd like to pick a Tempe's card here for the Spite Hydra and the Bizarric Drake. And which one would I like the most? I think Berserker may be a little bit too niche, but it should be good against Utera and Aloyin. It's a bit liable against Tempe's and Necrim due to its low health. It's got a more interesting ability than the Spark Soul, so. And a higher attack value, which could be used for something. Crush, I can't afford to pick too many more spells that don't really do much. We already have Cull, Chant, Spirit Leash, Necroflay, Aerial Surge to extend Everflame Aura. We also have Scythian Shambler, Warbringer Uranti. Our deck is going to be inconsistent, so what we're going to want to do here is up the consistency by not picking cards like Aerial Surge, but rather pick cards like Scavengers or Scorpion and Spirit Frost Shaman here. Firelight Hunter is supposedly the best card in this pack, but seeing as we have the Shamblers, and we are supposedly on the defensive, I think I like Steam Sentinel more. Also, maybe we could use Aerial Surge and Everflame Aura to get some value out of that. It seems a bit suboptimal, to say the least. Here's a Stormcaller. Stormcallers are great all the time. They're great in aggressive decks, but they're also good in controlling decks. Bitterfrost Totem is also interesting, but I think I'm going to snatch up the Stormcaller. Here, I think just a Shatterbolt. It's the most versatile of these cards. Corpse Crawler is a big creature, but we don't really have much to... We can't rely on sacrificing Crypt Slime remains. Graveborn Glutton is just by far the better card in this pack. Berserk Drake is a good pickup. It's a great pickup. So, another Yeti heavy and really bad pack. All of these cards are... Well, the Yeti tribe itself is really bad, especially in draft. So it's not worth moving in on cards like Uranti Stoker and pick all Yetis all the time. I think I'm going to pick Warbringer Uranti as the underdrop of choice here. Graveborn Glutton is a versatile card. And Torrent Valkyrie, this card is very bad. The Ice Torrent is an extra card in your deck that deals damage to your opponent, so it doesn't affect the board. And it has the same stats as the common Volcanic Giant, but an ability that decreases the strength of your deck, so never pick up this card. It's useless in both constructed and limited. Volcanic Giant is probably the best choice here, but once again we have the choice of strange cards. I mean, Violent Outburst I think is fine. It's good removal if you're aggressive, but I don't think that we are super aggressive. Ooh, another Berserk Drake. So these Berserk Drakes are going to be our, I think, our primary game plan. Progeny is fine. It's a good draft card, but I'd rather have the strong card to level here because I don't have too many strong leveled cards to play with. And you need to have good cards to level because they are the cards that win you the game. Your underdrops are what's not losing you the game, but those are two different entities. Abyssal Maw, we didn't see many of these, so I'm not too unhappy not moving into Abominations. We have 3 Gluttons and a Scavenger Scorpion for what it's worth. I think I'd just rather like the Wind Primordial anyway. So this deck, something that I don't think is very good. I think it's 2-2 quality, well, depending on the opposition, of course. I think we can use maybe skillfully pilot this pile through a couple of games. I think it still has potential to do good things because it does have good cards like Berserk Drake, Necromoeba, and maybe a Shambler can cause some blowouts. Looking at what's in the deck, which cards do I aim to level? The Berserk Drake and the Necromoeba for sure, so that's 2. There's 3 and 4. Banshees are great. That is fine. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and these 3. So that's like 12 cards that I'm fine leveling. And Crypt Slime is fine too, I suppose. So I don't have too many cards that I would like to level. I'm fine with Volcanic Giant too, I guess, and Stormcaller. But not too strong on that side. We do have some good tricks. We have Everflame Aura, which is a great trick for Tempees. It deals good damage at both level 1 and 2, all while potentially giving you mobility. So it's a very versatile card, one that I enjoy having in most of my draft decks. We do have Frost Shatter Strike, which is one of the best tricks. But lacking in the underdrop department, I'd definitely say that. Warbringer Uranti could do some things. Stormcaller is good. So that's why we'd like to keep them We'd like to keep them under-leveled rather than leveling them because we don't have too many good underdrops to work with. Steam Sentinel works too. So facing up against the Grove Matriarch, I really like the matchup there for Necromoeba. Let's see what our opponent can do about that, because that's not a good trade for them at the moment. Out of this hand, I'd look to level the... Oh, this is tough, because there are 3 cards that I really like to level here. The Banshee, the Drake, and the Hydra. And we'll see which ones are the best options. I think those 3 cards will leave Totembound, Berserker, and Cull to not be the correct plays. It would take something very special to make me play one of those cards. Gemhide Ravager, that is a case for Dirge Banshee. Yeah, that's an unfortunate Blizzard Shaman from our opponent. So what I think we'd like to do here, I think we're going to pass on the Berserk Drake. Place the Banshee in front of the Ravager. And overwrite the Oozling in 5 with the Spite Hydra. Because we will have an Oozling blocking the Blizzard Shaman anyway. And the Spite Hydra will deal with that a bit later. There is a case for playing a Berserk Drake in front of the Gemhide Ravager, but that is a very risky trade. We get blown out by Grove Huntress, which is something you don't want to have happen. Let's battle first. Get the cards in the right lanes. And this Seedling will cause our Necromoeba to spawn another Oozling, which is... Well, this game is looking pretty good right now. We've gotten to level 4 great cards. Yeah, forced to overwrite there. So if the... Yeah, look at this. This is a really strong start from our perspective. So we're basically trading the board off. Spite Hydra trades well with the Deep Branch Prowler, so this trade is very good for us. Yeah, we've won the exchange of most cards here, which means that we could potentially go on the offensive here, making Stormcaller a good play. Crypt Slime is also a good underdrop, so I don't really have a big preference of getting to level this card. Yeah, the Oozling is kind of small all the time. So I think, yeah, let's just go with a Stormcaller. And there is no center shenanigans. Maybe there is a mobility reason to move the Berserk Drake, but there is no 6-power mobility creature that survives the trade to be able to move over to the Stormcaller. Last turn, we get to level another Berserk Drake. Unfortunately, we will also have to play a bad card, so to speak. Well, there's someone with a Patriarch. What I think we do here is just push damage with the Warbringer. I don't see a reason to play any of these other cards, and Warbringer has a really good effect at player level 2, and with mobility we should be able to work around that. So now, currently winning in 4 lanes, which is something that usually can deal a lot of damage to your opponent. Well, Blizzard Shaman is a tough cookie. I think we're just going to block that with a Steam Sentinel. there is a case for just, well, that Gemite Ravager's gotta go. So let's see here. Just gonna move in here, and the Blizzard Shaman, we could block it with the Steam Sentinel, or we could play Everflame Aura, but I think this block is safer. No, it's not safer, but it's got more upside, and he'd need something like another Blizzard Shaman to perhaps blow me out, or a mobility Windweaver would be a good case to play around. Blizzard Shaman moving and killing our Spite Hydra. Okay, getting poison on our Hydra is good, because Hydras are dangerous. They will deal a lot of damage. Here we could either kill the Venom Fang directly, which I think is going to be the play, and just Dirge Banshee in front of this guy, because Dirge Banshee is great level 2 to deal with things, and a Glutton away from the Razortooth Stalker, because, well, its size doesn't really matter, and if there is a Frost Shatter Strike play, let's not give our opponent the opportunity, since he'd be able to block, move in 2 or 4, rather just deprive him of the ability of potentially maybe running into the Banshee and then blocking the Glutton if he doesn't have an answer. And there's another Banshee, so now we're back to the 4-lane advantage. We're gonna be able to push for a lot here. Especially since 3 of these are level 2s that are hard to trade with. And yeah, we've drawn quite well, I'd say. Hit all but 2 of our creatures. So 6 out of 8. That's an above average draw. Well, that's Grove Matriarch is a good blocker. That's a card that always trades the way you want, basically. But we have a Berserk Drake. I think we'd rather have the more of a lane coverage rather than the extra life on the Warbringer Uranti. So let's do it like this. Just push for the damage. That's 8 damage just from the ability of the Uranti. Just strong enough. It's best used to trade up. And now double level 3 on 3.1. I'm not sure double level 3 from Zhukov can match this. It's not going to be able to. So what we're going to do here, we're at 93. There is no need to put ourselves at any sort of risk. Then again, this is not a risky block, and it's harder to deal with later, in case our opponent comes up with something, but I'm not going to block for no reason here. Not even gonna... If our advantage was smaller, I'd move in here to perhaps make our opponent overwrite his Grova Huntress in order to be able to deal with this, so it won't deal 8 the phase next turn. More Grove Matriarchs. Those are good, but they won't save our opponent here. So we actually got to aggro this first game and win very convincingly. Got to level mostly good cards also. All but the Warbringer Uranti were really solid leveled cards. And the Uranti, well, it did its work. We're up against Blade of Destiny in round 2. Looking to Spite Hydra here. Well, Chant of the Dragon Watch doing some amount of work. This is the most work I'd expect it to do. Okay, so Contagion Lord or Spore Lord? Spore Lord. And a Grove Matriarch. So this is interesting. Gonna change that into a solid trade. Dirge Banshee is a star in draft. If you haven't caught on, you should play this card. You should pick this card often and play it often. And here we get the Shambler. We actually see the Shambler for the first time. The Spite Rider will kill the Rex if nothing happens. So that is I'd say it's not the best block from our opponent. Question is, where do we play the Shambler and where do we put it? Of course we play it. I think we put it in the corner. Maybe we want to have it potentially block the Delver. This was a, looking back, it was a mistake to put the Spite Hydra so central, because we want to be able to play the Shambler in a more central position. And now we can't play it in any of the center lanes because of this play. Then again, if I played it over here in a side lane, maybe it'd be open for some sort of side lane shenanigans. We're not sure. Our opponent is Necrim already. Anyway, that's a small tangent to think of lane placement or what cards you'd want certain lane placements for. So our Shambler play got a little bit not very interesting. So I think we're going to use the Shambler to potentially just trade up with the Delver here, because of the fact that if we put it here and our opponent blocks it and doesn't block the Dirge Banshee, and we'll just end up eating the Banshee, having a 7/5 isn't going to do too much good, maybe. That may be wrong. Gonna have to see. There's a Delver. We're gonna be able to make a trade there. And that's also a trade. So we're currently winning in quite a few lanes. Wow. Well then. We could use Warbringer Uranti to... No, we couldn't actually. That's interesting. So how do we deal with this creature? I don't want to play, because I want to play the Bizarre Drakes. Well, unfortunately, Decian Siphon is a tough cookie. I don't want to play Uranti Warbringer Uranti and Crypt Slime. I really want to. Well, let's just play the Necromoeba, and let's see where the token ends up. Hopefully in front of Corpse Crawler. Yep, and let's just block this guy again. We still have a small advantage, so we can afford to throw some resources into this Delver. We could take 12 next turn, but then again, we need to deal 8 next turn. What do we have to do that? We have Totem Bound, we have Steam Sentinel, and we have Stormcaller. So we have 3 cards that does that by themselves. Frost Shatter Strike should be a good way to do it, as well as Shatterbolt or Spirit Leash, if that is a thing. Glutton and Warbringer Uranti. Okay, we have a lot of answers to it. So I think We could overwrite the Shambler here. That is potential play. I don't like throwing away a Berserk Drake just to hold this guy down. Maybe he can pump it again next turn, but we have good answers if he pumps it a lot. So let's overwrite the Shambler and see if it kills us. It doesn't, because we have Frost Shadow Strike. Frost Shadow Strike is... it's a good way to ensure that you survive. Your survival, yeah. Looking to level the Dirge Banshee here over the other cards, because it's amazing. So, currently losing in 3 lanes. But we can change that. Frost Shadow Strike in Dirge Banshee here. Clearing this board. Our opponent leveled some pretty strong cards. Delver is a liability against Berserk Drake, so if our opponent doesn't apply pressure here, and we're allowed to play Berserk Drake in 3, Delver is a useless play, which hopefully happens. And that is maybe a strategy that you can employ, that if you know that your opponent is playing good mobility creatures, strong mobility creatures with mobility 2, like Berserk Drake and stuff like that, yeah, play your strong cards in the center to avoid having your Delver being, or your weaker cards, as your Spring Dryads and stuff be hit, because I'd be reluctant to block here, because it takes so little to blow us out. So I'd rather block here and play Spite Hydra there. It still gives us coverage to deal with the Delver. Shadowbolt doing a lot of work here for Allied. Spirit Leash could easily be a play here. Also, Glutton into Warbringer Uranti deals with the slime, and maybe Spite Hydra and something else deals with something else. Also, we could play a Crypt Slime just to block the Crypt Slime for a while and to be able to put our resources elsewhere. I don't want to see Siphon. Siphon just kills all the time. Yeah, that's fine. Makes me glad that I blocked the Hydra, or yeah, instead of the Crypt Slime. So I think what we want to do here is just level Glutton over Slime, and block the Hulk. Shoot the... we could shoot the 1/1 post-combat. I think I do that. 2 damage or a better target for... I probably wouldn't do this if I didn't know my opponent had Corpse Crawler, but seeing as they do, I'd like to play something, or like to play around that too. A better ability. I think it's fine to shoot the Hulk to ensure the trade with the Uranti. Well, so much for ensuring. And there's the dreaded Disian Siphon, which is the strongest rare in draft. A good reason to be NU. Just a... at every level, what it basically does is swings two trades, which is incredible in draft, and it's even good in constructed because it's so versatile. Most of you know this already. Looking for Corpse Crawler here. So what to do here? I think we could Frost Shatter Strike, trade these off after playing Dirge Banshee in the center. Is there a better line though? We could not play Frost Shatter Strike. I don't know. None of these creatures are doing too much on this board. So let's just... That's a bad value Frost Shatter, I have to say. Maybe it was better just block it with a bad creature. Hopefully our Spite Hydra can do some work here, but... We're facing some dangerous things, especially Siphons. I mean, Siphon is the card that I'm most worried about among the cards our opponent has played so far. Didn't get to level the Spore Lord, which is good for us. Yeah, Siphon 2. What else? I had a pretty poor... level 2 our opponents. So maybe we could get there. So do we block? This is an interesting point in the game, because blocking a Grove Matriarch is so profitable with the Spite Hydra. It just blows us out of the water with this in Siphon, but I'm not sure we can play around it. Yeah, let's just not play around that and block with the Glutton, which is the card that levels the best out of these and also does the most to this board. And this is a great hand. So if our Spite Hydra lives here and gets to eat the Grove Huntress and other things as well, it's going to be great for us. If our opponent has Dissing Siphon, there we go. Blown out. That's what Siphon does. And level 3, another level 3. So we take a lot of damage if we didn't block there, which would make this kind of play impossible. There's a Rex. I could play... Let's see here. What do I want to block with what? I think I just want the Berserk Drake centralized. Even though the sampling could potentially maybe trade with a Banshee, the same would be true with the Drake. It would be at 4 health. So, and there's the Shambler that we that is probably not gonna do too much work this game. Could be a decent threat, but we need to answer our opponent's threats before we think of anything else. This Berserk Drake is going to trade with a Euterodon Rex, though, if there is no other things. Or it's not going to trade, it's going to win the fight there. Or somewhere else, because the Dirge Banshee will also win the fight. So being behind, I think I'd rather not level the Shambler because of the dangers we might face if we're up against it and have to block with a 9-10, which the level 3 is. We didn't even get to eat anything, so what this card does is that it eats its card adjacent to it and gains its attack and health, which means that you can eat big things and grow a huge monster. If we hadn't drawn all our level 3 creatures already, which is incredible. Yeah. I could be maybe persuaded. Oh, there's... So this is the strength of tricks. You've seen this from our opponent this game. It's so hard to gain an advantage against cards like Hungering Strike, which is just Dissonant Siphon without the minus health. Just move out of the way here, I think. What does it take for 6 plus 9? So how many 9 attack creatures do we have next turn? Do you have Warbringers and stuff? Yeah. There's a case for Shambler being our best bet to trade up with the Crypt Slime. But then again, why not just block it with a Berserk Drake here? So that's what we're gonna do. It's basically the same, but leveling the more solid creature. And there we go. See if our opponent has a trick to reverse the trade with the Rex. And what the good tricks do, like Frost Tether Strike, Dissonant Siphon, which is the best one, and to a lesser extent Hungering Strike, what it does is that it affects multiple lanes. And that is basically the key. Okay, so our opponent missed, which means that we're in a very good spot. Could block here. What is the best line here? We could push for damage with this guy. Kind of like that, but it decentralizes it. 15 damage is much harder to clear, or 16 is much harder to clear than 13 that we'd have if we block here. I think we want the Necromoeba to be able to do its thing. So I'm pushing for 8 damage rather than push for... maybe we should have just have blocked with a Glutton there. Actually, that was probably the correct play. We'd have a Glutton 3 here instead of a Warbringer Uranti, which would have been... The Glutton 3 is better. For sure. I doubt we're going to get too much value out of the Uranti. It's possible, and it's entirely possible, but I wouldn't bank too much on it. Now let's see the big creatures that we have. They're actually not too big in size, which may be a problem. They're all like ability heavy, which isn't the greatest for this guy. Okay, so the Warbringer is actually going to do a lot of good here. So going to move over to deal some damage to our opponent. Play this guy there, and I think just we want the Necromoeba to hit in 5. So to maximize that, we could play the Glutton or the Shambler, in fact, in 1. Taking 11 isn't going to be the biggest thing in the world here. I think we're fine with that. Okay. Should be able to deal with that next turn, so come on. We got the proc where we wanted it to. And Dirge Banshee to deal with the threat, and yeah, this game is looking good. We drew pretty well, and I've gotten some good mileage out of these Berserk Drake. There's a Delver. Isn't going to do too much. So what I can do this turn with this play is to play around Dissonant Siphon by not blocking this guy. Our opponent can't afford. I think, yeah, it's the higher attack guy. Our opponent can't afford to play a trick that only, well, that doesn't deal with 2 of the lanes, and by ignoring the fungi to be able to switch a trade there, we've diversified our threat to make that not a possible play from our opponent. Winning in 4 lanes here is very hard to deal with, whereas blocking the fungi and winning in 3 lanes is plausible. At least possible. So we got there. So we're 2-0 this time, the same as last video. Let's see if we can squeak out something better. The Bizarre Drakes that we picked up are really doing a lot of work. But that game could easily have had a different outcome because, well, our opponent's siphons were so good that if it had more big cards to threaten us, it may not have been able to stabilize there. But having the good cards like the Dirge Banshee and the Bizarre Drake, we were able to block high-powered guys while still having a decently sized creature left, and that really helps you out. We're up against Dominator team in our 3rd game, and our first play is going to be Crypt Slime because none of these other cards are very enticing at all. Crypt Slime itself isn't enticing, but it's an average-sized body with an ability, so it should be good enough. We could potentially Spirit Leash up a Bizarre Drake. I'd rather do that with a Bizarre Drake 2 or 3 though. It depends on what threats we're facing. Okay, so this is interesting. The Scavenger Scorpion makes it a little tough on us, because they won't trade anymore. And this trade is very fragile. It's incredibly fragile. Which is, since our opponent is winning in 1 lane already, maybe I should just not block here this turn. Trying to leverage a play for the next turn. Do we have, yeah, like a Frost Shatter Strike from this point would be better. So I think we're going to play it slightly safe and take 4 damage from this Torrent Soldier so that we don't allow something like a the demon, what's it called? Calamity Fiend, yeah. Stuff like Calamity Fiend to just blow us out of the water. Do have Necroamoeba to block at this turn, or potentially block the Scavenger Scorpion and the Scorch Hydra to play somewhere else. We could also just move in on the Bizarre Drake to have the block there. This may all be me just running scared, but Utera and Necroamoeba have some good ways to leverage an advantage and switch trades for the better. There's a Zombie Titan, so Glutton is 6 powered. Should be good. There's the Siphon. Okay, so how do we deal with this then? It's interesting, to say the least. Necroamoeba here, maybe even Necroamoeba there. Maybe just Necromoeba and Spite Hydra to try to make the trade go through. The safe play is to play Spite Hydra before. The greedy play is to block first and threaten the positive trade. We could also play a Scavenger Scorpion here, but then we're not playing the Spite Hydra, and that is probably not the correct play. Seeing what lines we have in front of us, I think what I like here is just Necromoeba and block the Zombie Titan with the Spite Hydra. We're going to take 4 from this either way, so I'd rather block next turn with a Berserk Drake. So we're dealing 1 damage. Oh yeah, there's an Oozling there. Forgot about that. Well then. Oh, I didn't forget about that. So we got a lucky proc there. I should have thought of that. But now I think we're just going to use this Berserk Drake to gain 4 life and play a Spite Hydra so that we can maybe get something out of that, leverage some advantage from it. Frost Shatter Strike is going to deal with the Zombie Titan, if nothing else. So I've been playing very conservatively this game. Rather than to present trades, I have been trying to play the game so that on my pace, which is I decide the trades on my turn. The trade-off is that I'm taking damage. And I think that is something that people don't do enough. There's a Patriarch. Spite Hydra will deal with that. I do like a Frost Shatter Strike to reverse this trade, and then a Stormcaller there. Yeah, let's just gain a 3-lane advantage here. So instead of losing all our resources, we have an active Necromoeba, an active Spite Hydra, which allows us to leverage our cards into an advantage rather than being forced to do something that we'd maybe rather not do. Because this position is a really strong one. Hadn't our Oozling dropped in front of the Zombie Titan, though, I think we'd maybe have had to block with the Spite Hydra because of the large amount of incoming damage. So some lucky procs and some proactive play or plays to trying to get as much value out of our cards as possible, to get a good board state, and this only cost us 8 life. So I'm very happy how this first player level played out. Okay, that's a Venom Fang. Actually, that's pretty sick, because we're going to be able to kill that Stormcaller and buff up our Necromoeba, a big Necromoeba. So our opponent is in heaps of trouble. That's a 12-15, well, 12-16. Necromoeba 2 should be really hard to deal with from our opponent. I don't think that is what you want to be doing. So Spore Torrenting our Necromoeba gives us a steady stream of 3/3s every turn. It's not a play you should make. And seeing as we have a steady stream of 3/3s, let's just overwrite the 1/1 with a real creature. We don't have to block here, because we're going to get a 3/3 there. We're going to get a 3/3 We don't even have enough lanes to do anything with this. So. Yeah, maybe it's good. It gives our opponent a way to dwindle it down, but it just oozes with value for us. Let's see. Are we enough ahead that a Shambler could do something? One thing that a Shambler does is that it allows for the attack value of our creatures to be aggressive. We could play a Stormcaller and just bash them for 14, which is a lot of damage. Okay, so finally, well, the Necromoeba is off. It did a lot of work, so I'm proud of that. And here is when we play the Shambler, because it's gonna potentially just win us the game here as a level 1, which is pretty impressive. It actually combos pretty well with Frost Shatter Strike, because even though this attack buff is limited to the turn, if you overwrite the card that gained the buff, you will be able to... Oh, let's see. How do we want to do this? Give it 9 health, leveling the most versatile aggressive card. I think that's going to be it. So we're going to deal a lot of damage here. Using this and getting the +7 forever. Okay. Our opponent is down to 43. Have to block the Shambler, and then we'll be 1 play up. Given they actually get to block or can successfully block the Shambler. But I'd assume it'd be a possibility. If not, our opponent is in even greater heaps of trouble. So, judging from this, we're actually going to get another attack with it. And at this point, I think I'd rather just get as much damage as possible in, so let's just get the +8. Oh, no. And effectively gain aggressive with that. Down to 19, and we have a Spirit Leash for the Necromoeba. So this game is kind of, I'd say a stroke of luck hit us this game. Combined with, I guess, some kind of tight play. So hopefully the Shambler gets to eat level 3 here. That would be... Because if our opponent has a double level 3 hand, Shambler will eat one of them. And then our opponent should overwrite his Venom Fang rather than to hit us with it. I've actually never played this card. Maybe we'll get the chance in the last game, because it's probably not going to happen this game. Well, it could potentially do that. Coupled with Everflame Aura to push some damage with the Necromoeba, but I think I'd rather just... Well, I guess fact is, if we play an Everflame Aura, moving our Necromoeba, and then playing a Wind Primordial, our opponent is under the gun, to say the least. Have to deal with the Wind Primordial, or gain life, or lose the game. And we have several Gluttons. Things that deal damage. Yeah, we have 1 Spirit Frost Shaman, 2 Gluttons. A total of 3 Gluttons, yeah. being at 88, we should be able to find those last points of damage. So we'll have to see what the play is here. Anyway, so far we haven't got any of these hands with Everflame Aura and Chant of the Dragon Watch that have basically screwed us, which is, I think, is a very real possibility with this deck. We tried to pick cards so that it wouldn't happen. After initially deciding to pick these cards over something else. And now I realize that I actually forgot to size this correctly. There you go. That's what I should have been doing all along. Well, you'll have to excuse my these technical issues. I'll be sure to remember them going forward. Are we getting timed out? If we are, that's a shame. That's what I'm thinking. However, what do we do about this? Okay, so here comes the Necroflay. Do you have another Necroflay? That would be great. Deal with the Shambler. So there's the Glutton. Okay, I like this position a lot. Do we actually have lethal? There's a Spore Torrent. Okay, so there's a reason to overwrite here, but let's see. This guy is 1-4. We have 8 damage already. And 8 plus 8, 16. We are 50-50 to win with that line. Straight up. Which means that I like this line a lot more. Much harder to play around. Actually, Aerial Surge and Warbringer Euronti should be able to move the Oozling to where it needs to go and deal the last points of damage. Because that's 9 right there. If something strange happens. If something strange happens, yeah. So that was a tough turn from our opponent here. But we got the win, and looking to get this 4-0 actually. Intriguing. Definitely intriguing. Let's see who we're gonna face and see if this deck can actually make it. So we've had Spite Hydras do a lot of work in player level 1, but not really getting to do much in player level 2 and 3. Something I'd look to do. Also, I'd love to grow a big Shambler in player level 1. That would be fun. The deck performed surprisingly well so far. We've never really been up against it. Never got pushed too hard so that our creatures, maybe lack of power, would have been an issue. I think an aggressive deck that gains an advantage and can present 10, 11 Blizzard Shamans could potentially be a problem. against our 8-10s and 7-11s. Well, 8-10s mostly. I think we have some good tools to change those trades, to not be able to not get blown out by too many things. So we finally find our fourth opponent here. It's Smoky Treat. Let's see what we're up against here. No Soulbind. Cinder Colossus, eh? Well then. I'm thinking the mobility stuff should be very good this game. Let's just ignore this, because it doesn't actually do anything for a long time. I could block it with a Necromoeba. That is something that I'd be definitely be fine with. Playing a level 1 Cinder Colossus is basically just throwing away a play, so I'd be looking to go aggressive here if I can. However, my cards just aren't strong enough to trade, I guess, more than 1 and 1. So there's another defender. And a Sparkstone, okay. Interesting. Well, Necromoeba is still going to be good, and Chant of the Dragon Watch is still doing work as an allied enabler. We're going to be able to block the Sparkstone with a 1-1, increasing our chances to get a good trade next turn. Okay, so Sparkstone Defender deck, and we didn't pick up the Crush because we didn't think, or I didn't think, that we could afford another of these effects that don't really do too much. Let's see how wrong we end up being. Windweaver as well. Wow, this deck is incredible. So what do we do? I'd love to keep the Necromoeba alive, but that means we'd have to play Everflame Aura. I think I'm just gonna push our Spite Hydra and play the better card here. I think the mobility cards are going to be the most important cards here, so I think I'd actually rather play the Drakes than the Banshees here, for exactly that reason. We're up against a really strong deck though. I haven't seen AT Defenders in a while, and here we are. Having Oozlings blocking the way of the Bizarre Drakes here. Blizzard Shaman, 9/7. Should we just Warbringer Uranti? No, I don't think so. It's a 3/3 versus leveling a better card. And I believe in leveling the better cards for sure here. I'm overriding one of the cards here to make sure we don't get locked in one certain place. I don't want to have a Bizarre Drake that just gets blocked. If I played on level 5, just ignores the lane 2 Oozling, or Drake in 1 if our opponent ignores the Oozling. Oh, even a Battlebrand. And there's the big guy. Okay, so what we're doing here is this is poor against Windweaver. No, it's just poor against Windweaver and that other guy. Okay, I'm pretty fine with that. I like Shambler to apply pressure here. And we also have potentially another Frost Shatter Strike combo with the Shambler. What does it take to trade with a Colossus, if need be? Frost Shatter plus 6. So that's a Frost Shatter plus Glutton. However, if our opponent plays a Sparkstone, we could just kill it with Frost Shatter and Everflame Aura. This is a very interesting turn. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have Windweaver or Sparkstone Elemental. We'll see. We'll have to see. I do like that this strategy doesn't have Citadel Guards. It's just too big. Too big to deal with. I do like Frost Shatter here. Frost Shatter actually kills the Windweaver with the help of Spite Hydra. Oh, are you gonna block the Shambler? Gonna run into it? You are. I see. So what do we do? What do we do? I think we kill the Windweaver with Frost Shatter and Spite Hydra. And just block the Cinder Colossus. We'll look into it killing the Instigator next turn. Depriving our opponent of mobility is the most important thing here. His creatures being in their static position means that the Oozling trades and the Flame Rift won't be a threat to the Spite Hydra. We're at a life advantage here, but our opponent has some pretty big things going on. Matrix Warden is great. It's one of the best draft cards. I'm happy to see it back because Eloin hasn't had very good cards in some other formats prior, and Matrix Warden is one of the best ones. It's an incredible common that you can't have too many of in your decks. Okay, so pushing for damage, I see. Which I am kind of fine with, because I think that we're still the aggressor. Blocking with the Glutton, because it levels better than Stormcaller and it deals damage to your opponent. Blocking with the Berserk Drake, because it has Regenerate, and taking 14 is definitely not going to be worth it. So pretty straightforward play, and here we have the entire mobility squad. So if our opponent doesn't have, well, if they have a Defender and no Sparkstone, we could basically just move around a lot. Lava Fused Asir. That is a bad trade for you right now. Okay, did we get to level? A lot of interesting things. So we have. So what's the other play? Why did they trade Spark Soul? I see. Placing the creature with the greater power in the center, because that is the one we are maybe most likely to trade up with something this turn. This is a good 3.1. If our opponent doesn't have a good 3.1, we may just run away with it here. I am not confident. Well then, what can we do about this? Okay, so this was the worst case scenario. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think we want to deal damage to our opponent's face. than blocking the Windweaver with the Spite Hydra, because then he'd have to move over the Windweaver to block something else or to kill something else to be able to move the Cinder Colossus to block the only creature that it can be certain of blocking. It's just tough. Actually, the Spite Hydra doesn't even have the allied here. It's still going to be better than a Berserk Drake here, I think, though. But not necessarily, actually. Okay, so but the Berserk Drake doesn't have mobility either. Okay, so that's a big problem. Should we just block here then? I'm not sure what to do in this position. Windweaver and Cinder Colossus is just disgusting. So the Windweaver needs to die, and the Cinder Colossus needs to not gain aggressive some way. I think we're dead here. So there's the block on the stationary guy. We do have an aerial search. So if our opponent drew really badly here, we could be able to leverage an advantage here. If he has to trade off his Windweaver, because we can't kill the Windweaver by ourselves. If he goes for our face, hopefully cannot do that. And the reason that may be a thing is because of our opponent may not have blockers for the Berserk Drake and the Wind Primordial. We're gonna have to see. Seems to be in a tough position. Our opponent. Well, our opponent is in a good position, but trying to figure out the best play here. Double level 3 kills us. That's what I think. That's an Asir. It's not a block by itself right now. That is okay. So all this is fine. We're gonna move this guy over. There we go. Deal with that. Grow our Spite Hydra a bit. Block with this guy. No. We're gonna block with this guy. Because this level 3 is very, very dangerous. So, actually ended up in a pretty good position here. Wind Primordial is very dangerous. Then again, this Cinder Colossus could just mess with our livelihood. 24 times 3, that is 72. Is there any possible play where we don't block? Maybe. So he didn't have the answers for any of our creatures. And we actually got there. Due to aerial search, actually. Well, not due to aerial search, but it definitely helped. Wow, that's pretty incredible end to this draft. We were under the gun, facing a Windweaver and Cinder Colossus, but our creatures being mobile made both our guys deal damage to his face, and then he had to block. We were able to move out of the way, once again making a Cinder Colossus stationary before it got to eat anything. I think we were kind of lucky to escape that one. That was we were facing a good deck, and there were a lot of draws that would have made things very tough for us. Granted, our opponent had a great 3.1, like one of the best that you can have, but still, that is a 4-0. Good times. Which means that, yeah, we got there with a deck that I didn't think was really that good, but we were able to leverage our mobility creatures to deal with the right things at the right time, and we still had a number of tricks that we were able to pull out. Berserk Drake is incredible in NT, so that's a good reason to be in NT, and if you are in NT, you should definitely play them. Furthermore, well, you kind of got to see a little bit of the power of the Spite Hydra, but never really got out of control. But the fact is your opponent has to deal with it, so it doesn't get out of control. It's got a good body at every player level, and is a versatile threat that you can really use to good advantage. Dealing this large or this small chunks of damage to change the trades is great. So, with that said, we got 4-0 this time. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.